Watch as this old captive bear finally gets a taste of freedom when he goes outside for the first time. Nappa is a brown bear and polar bear mix that was born and raised in captivity. He was born in 2006 at a Serbian zoo, which then sold him to a circus in Srobobran, Serbia. There, Nappa was forced to perform tricks during their circus shows until 2009, when Serbia banned wild animals from circuses. However, despite the ban prohibiting them from using Nappa in their shows, the circus still refused to hand him over or free him. This meant that Nappa was left in the care of a circus that no longer had use for him. They kept him in a cage inside the circus grounds that was so small, Nappa couldn't even stand or turn properly while inside. To make things worse, Nappa wasn't allowed to go out at all since the circus couldn't make him perform. He ended up staying in that tiny cage every day for 8 years. Then in 2016, the animal welfare organization called Four Paws was finally able to enforce the confiscation of Nappa with some help from the Serbian authorities. When rescuers got to him, Nappa's health wasn't in the best state. He had several broken teeth from biting the bars of his metal cage and the improper food the circus used to feed him. They also found that Nappa's cage had never been cleaned, and he had low muscle mass for a bear, likely due to the cage restricting his movement. After the rescue, Nappa was brought to a zoo in northern Serbia, which Four Paws knew took proper care of their animals. His enclosure at that zoo was much better than the tiny cage, but it still wasn't true freedom. They knew it wouldn't be Nappa's forever home. This posed a challenge because bears like Nappa that have been in captivity for so long lacked the necessary skills to survive on their own. This meant that Nappa couldn't be released into the wild. The solution to this came in the form of Arosa Bear Sanctuary, a sanctuary Four Paws had been working to establish in the mountains of eastern Switzerland. Nappa would be the sanctuary's first resident. In the summer of 2018, a 30-person team brought Nappa to his new home. The journey was around 30 hours long and included a gondola ride to get Nappa up the mountain to the location of the sanctuary. Upon arriving, Nappa was first kept inside a large enclosure so he could get acclimated to his new environment. Things were off to a good start, as within just a few hours, Nappa was already playing around and curiously exploring his new environment. Eventually, the sanctuary's caretakers noticed that Nappa seemed to want to go outside his enclosure, signaling that he was ready to be released. Nappa's very first step outside almost seemed like a run or a leap, fitting for the large change Nappa's life would go through as he took his first step into nature. Finally, after 12 years in captivity, Nappa stepped out and experienced freedom for the very first time. After going out, Nappa began to curiously explore his new environment. In those first few weeks, Nappa learned how to do things that wild bears usually do. He learned how to look for food, roamed around, had a bath, and became familiar with nature. When winter came, Nappa experienced being in the snow for the first time. It was an exciting time for the part polar bear, who laid down and played around in the snow. Then later that winter, for the first time in his life, Nappa went into hibernation. The caretakers at Arosa were ecstatic, as bears only hibernated when they felt at ease. This was a sign that Nappa felt comfortable and happy in his new home. Several months later, Nappa was able to meet other bears for the very first time. Amelia and Memo were rescued from a small zoo in Albania, and they quickly became Nappa's companions after they were introduced. They were often seen strolling around together or playing in the water, and Nappa established himself to be somewhat of a leader for their little group. In the company of his new friends, Nappa was able to spend the rest of his life as a free and happy bear inside the Arosa Bear Sanctuary.